you saw me and you clicked on this video. And clearly, today we're gonna be talking about fragrances. As a fragrance connoisseur, a fragrance elitist that I am, I'm going to cover a few different things with fragrances. So let's get into the video. But before I start, I'm gonna throw out 2 fragrance facts to make it seem like I'm actually smarter than I am. So fragrance fact number 1, the impact goes way beyond mood and memory. Additional research finds that scents can affect how calm and alert we are, sharpen our focus, cause us to be more generous, relieve anxiety and fatigue, improve brain power, and enhance physical health. I'm not entirely sure how a fragrance can make us more generous, unless I'm saying that incorrectly.
Generous.
Okay. Fragrance fact number 2. So I had to ask this question, how do scents improve our overall mood, right? Here's the answer. Scents send signals. That's a tongue twister. Scents send signals to our limbic system, which is the sector of the brain that controls memory and emotion. According to a 2011 study conducted by, I'm not going to say the name because I'm going to butcher it, positive emotions which can be elected by certain fragrances have been proven to lower stress levels and improve overall mental outlook. In regards to all these interesting facts about fragrances, it does improve your overall mood. It can lift the spirits of many people around you as well, not only yourself but others. And not only that, having a signature fragrance is the utmost best thing you can possibly have. It's like having your own personal style, but it's in a form of a scent. That's even cooler. As someone who enjoys fragrances, and I do have a few that I rotate in and out of that my nose doesn't get annoyed of, I love them, I enjoy them. They're very interesting, and I will give you my philosophy real quick, but before I go into that, I want you to comment some of your favorite fragrances down below of things that I might like. What kind of guy do I look like? Do I like musky fragrances? Do I like forest smell? Do I like spicy? There's so many different types of fragrances to try and it's super interesting, so leave some recs down below and I'll check them out at some other point. So let me explain why I love fragrances and why you might want to as well. Fragrances create a very personalized representation of oneself. Smells can create a positive and powerful connections to others. Think about it in a way of being able to locate or even know if your friend's in a room full of strangers just based off the fragrance they use. That's what I mean by personalized. It's unquestionably unique to them and it's beautiful. Now I'm sure we all have that one friend who has a very specific scent to them. Maybe they smell like garbage. Maybe they smell very beautiful. Who knows? Now, that's how we kind of identify that person, usually with that fragrance, you know? And there are a few friends of mine that wear fragrances on the daily, and I know what fragrance they use all the time. Maybe not by name, but I know the smell. And you know, sometimes I'll be walking around and when I do smell it, I just think of that person. And I think that's such an interesting connection to have when it comes to even your friends or maybe a partner of yours. So if you're able to find a very personalized fragrance that you feel like defines who you are or how you feel at the moment, I think fragrances are the way to go. I mean, besides getting into clothing, which I truly enjoy, which is another hobby of mine, but with fragrances, it's such a different, unique experience that you can definitely output into the world. Based off first impressions, we typically look at someone's look, someone's hair, someone's face, maybe how they dress. Now, second impressions would come down to the way you smell. And if you hit those 2 off the checkbox of most people's lists, you're already doing better than most people. You're better than the average Joe. You're better than the normie down the street that doesn't even wear any fragrances. Now, buying fragrances doesn't need to be really expensive, but I will get into that later. Now I'm gonna be talking about some of the problems that some people might have with fragrances or even where they should start. Let's tackle longevity issues. And with that, it also connects with oil-based versus alcohol-based fragrances, which are very different. Like eau de toilette and just regular parfum. Now, what exactly makes these different? The strength of the perfume refers to the amount of concentration of fragrance oils in the fragrance. So now here's a little list of how long these fragrances typically do last, and that might depend on the oils on your skin and also like maybe where you apply it to as well. But typically with the less concentration of fragrance oils in the fragrance, it is cheaper. Now with it being cheaper, you are getting less time of it being able to be really smell or how pungent it is. The performance isn't going to be the best, So my best thing that I can recommend is always going for the more oil-based fragrance with a higher concentration so that it lasts like all day. Because a fragrance that you buy that's eau de toilette, sorry if I'm butchering that, if you spray it on, it's not gonna last too long. Sometimes they work well, sometimes they don't. I've had a lot of toilette fragrances on my skin and it'll only last for like 3 hours. And the radius of the fragrance isn't too large, it is very, very minuscule. So that also does play a part in terms of the concentration. Usually higher concentration fragrances cost more money, but the longevity and then also the radius of how many people can smell it, and it just is overall better. Now, if you're just going for like a meeting for 2 hours, then you don't really necessarily need to put on a very strong fragrance. You could just put on something very mild. Like I mentioned, when you're walking around, you're gonna want people to recognize you for your fragrance. So why not get something that is going to last a bit longer on your skin and also has a good performance and a good radius of people being able to smell it. But that all depends on you. Now, the only reason I'm giving you this type of information is because before buying a fragrance, I think it's also really good to know if it's going to last really long or if it's not, because if you spend, I don't know, like $80 to $60 on a fragrance and you spray it on your skin and you find out it's not going to last that long, or it lasts like 2 hours, 3 hours, you're going to be quite disappointed and you might feel like you wasted money. So now you're aware of it, and then we can move on now. So let's talk about how to find a fragrance that best meshes with your personality and or what you want to go for. So when you're trying to find a fragrance, I think this is a very key thing to remember. There are the top notes, the heart notes, and the base notes. Now, what does this all mean? Typically, when you spray fragrance, or if you look at a fragrance card, it'll have like a list and it'll tell you like the notes of the fragrance and stuff. So the base notes are going to pretty much tell you what it dries down to. When you spray fragrance, you will smell usually the top notes, and then as it's starting to dry down, you'll smell the heart notes, and then it ultimately stays at its base notes when it's completely dried on your skin, and that's pretty much what you're gonna be smelling all day. So typically, I know some people typically will look at the top notes and the base notes and stuff to just kind of gauge whether they wanna smell like that for a little bit, but in terms of the longevity of the fragrance, you're going to always smell the base notes, and that's probably the most important notes list that you want to look at to see if you're going to like it or not. If you're just like, I don't know, looking on the internet, or you went to a Macy's or a fragrance shop, definitely check out the base notes at the very bottom of the list. Check the base notes, see if that's something that you're gonna want on your skin so that it doesn't irritate your nose and or you get annoyed of the fragrance. That is just something I definitely recommend checking before even purchasing something. There's also another question of what fragrance defines you as a person. Now, typically, I don't really like wearing fragrances that are very uplifting. Most of the fragrances that I do purchase for myself are either spicy, musky, or oaky, forest type smells. That's what I really enjoy too, and I think most men can relate to that. That's just my enjoyment, but spicy fragrances are great. I don't really like leather smells. Some men like leather smells, some men like really musky fragrances, and that's all up to personal preference, opinion, and whatever. Now, objectively, there are some fragrances that smell like balls. I won't say what, but you know. But when it comes to defining what works best for you, I really do recommend testing fragrances out, which funny enough brings me to the sponsor of this video. Like I've mentioned before with my philosophy on fragrances, I love the idea of having your own signature fragrance. And one of my own favorite signature fragrance that I would typically put on was commodity fragrance called Book. And that was one of my favorite fragrances that I typically do use. But Scentbird sent me a few new fragrances that I actually really do enjoy. And here's the top 3. So I received You or Someone Like You, which is a fragrance I really enjoyed. From the past, I've used samples, and now I do have a 10 ml bottle of it now. And the notes are mint, rose, and herbs, perfect for spring and summer, and it makes me appear more happy by just the smell alone. And the second fragrance that I got was Unwind by TUMI, and the notes are ginger, lemon, sage, and sandalwood. Unwind by TUMI is one of those fragrances that you would just wear at any occasion, at any moment. and it's a quite pleasing smell. Now the third fragrance that I got was Almost Single by Confessions of a Rebel, and the notes are cardamom, iris, rosemary, and sandalwood. And honestly, it's again one of those fragrances that you can wear on every occasion. It doesn't really necessarily seem like it fits one parameter. Now with that, let me explain what Scentbird is. Scentbird is a fragrance subscription service that allows you to try new designer fragrances, or more than one, each month for just $17, which each fragrance you'll get a 30-day supply to try new fragrances before committing to a full-size bottle. There are over 600 designer brands to choose from designers like Prada, Gucci, and Versace, to indie labels like Skylar, Heretic, and Confessions of a Rebel. Some fragrances cost over $150, and some are even $300 to $500. Make sure to click the link below or the QR code, and make sure to use my code FASHION to get 55% off your first month at Scentbird. That's only about $8 for your first month. And remember, it's better to get a 10 ml bottle to try it out for your first time versus getting a full bottle and spending $300 on it. Now, this is the first thing that I definitely can recommend to you is you're going to want to go and get a bottle sampler. So you're gonna get a bottle sampler, you're gonna spray it on yourself, and you're gonna see if it works out for you in the terms of it being the best or not, right? So the reason I'm telling you this is because you need to know this one thing. Everyone's oils are different. So when you spray fragrance on your skin, it will smell a lot different on me versus on you because we have different oils on our body. It's very strange and very interesting. Like this is one fragrance that doesn't smell well on me, but a lot of people love, but it's Jazz Club. I've sprayed Jazz Club on my skin and it mixed with my oils and it just smells terrible on me. So I can't wear Jazz Club. Other people can enjoy Jazz Club. I just personally cannot do that. It just smells so bad on me. Now, that's always going to be something that happens. So that's why I always recommend never to buy a full bottle, but to buy a sampler or to get a free sampler. Usually you do have to pay like $5, but it's better to get a free sampler if anything. Now this is the part of the video where I explain how to wear fragrances. And you might be asking yourself, well, how else would I wear fragrances? There are actually very specific points on the body that you would wear your fragrance on or spray it. There are pulse points. There are here, on your neck, behind your ear, and on your wrists. And also on right here. These are the pulse points that you would want to spray the fragrances on. Now, let me go grab a fragrance of mine. You're coming with me. So here we are. We have my fragrances down below. I will partake in one of them, which is this one over here that I really like. I grab, and I will show you how to put this fragrance on. When you're putting a fragrance, typically it depends on the amount you want on your body, right? So usually I will spray one here, one on my wrist, and that is it. And what you do is don't smear, please don't smear. If you smear the fragrance, what you're gonna end up doing is you're gonna damage the longevity, and not only that, but the heart notes and the top notes get damaged. So let me quickly explain what top notes, heart notes, and base notes are. Top notes are those you smell immediately after the perfume first touches your skin. Once the initial burst fades, the heart notes kick in to form the essence of the perfume. Then the base notes are the scent that lasts the longest and is the one you remember the most. Every note adds a certain quality to the fragrance. Just spray it and tap. Just tap in the areas that you want it, whether it's behind your ears as well, just do that. Also, another trick a lot of people do end up doing in the fragrance community is they will get Vaseline, they will put it on their points here, wherever they're going to spray it, and they'll spray it on that. And what that does is it only extends the time or the life of the fragrance, and you'll get better performance with your smells. And that's cool, right? Is that not? Pricing and risks. I want to talk about this real quick. Not everyone needs a fragrance. Not everyone needs to buy fragrances. It's a luxury. It's not a need. It's not essential. You do not need to smell good. Well, you do need to smell good, but you don't need to spray this on your body. You just take a shower. You don't need this extraness of a fragrance on your body. You can buy cheaper fragrances and you can do these like the tricks that I told you about the Vaseline to make them last a little bit longer, but in all seriousness and in reality, we do not need fragrances. You do not need to buy a bunch of fragrances. I got a lot of those gifted to me from people. I never bought any. So I'm going to tell you this right now. You do not need to spend $100 to $200 on a oil-based perfume or go out and really spend all your money on trying to figure out what smell works for you best. What I used to do when I was quite broke is I would go and I would get the sample bottles, which were like, I think 1 ml, and I would spray once, and I would just try and get as much use out of them every day. They would usually last me about like 2 weeks. That's what I did for a long time because either they were free or I had to buy them for like $1 to $2 sometimes, but it goes a long way. I didn't want to spend my money on a Le Labo fragrance bottle that was like $300, or even the 50 ml I think is $200. Couldn't be me. For the most part, you're going to want to get the samplers. You're going to want to spray that on your skin because, again, it might not mesh well with your oils really great, and it might smell horrible on you, and that would be horrible if you bought this in a full bottle because it looked cool. You thought it smelled great in the bottle, because it does. But once it's sprayed on your skin, does it smell horrible? I definitely recommend getting the samples first, or getting those small bottles, carrying it around with you for a month, putting it on your skin. Try it on for at least a week straight or 2, because sometimes people will get overly sensitive with fragrances and how it smells, and you might not like it. So even if it does mesh well with your skin and it smells good on you and people give you compliments, your nose might not like it anymore, and you will get headaches smelling the fragrance. And whatever. That's the end of the video. I'm done. I'm gonna go get a haircut because my hair is really long and it's pissing me off, so let's go. Anyway, I will see you in the next video. At some point, I will make another video, and I'll see you then. So, oh wait, I'd like to also mention, check out my Patreon. I've been doing more podcasts there, so if you'd like other content or more exclusive content that I will not be publishing publicly, remember to go check out my Patreon, as well as the Discord that's also linked to my Patreon in there. And maybe come and talk to me on Discord. Sometimes I join chats. I do have long combos with people. It's really fun and really cool. So we're building a really great community over there. I think there's about 3,000 members, so go check it out. And with that, I'll see you in the next video at some point and at some time. Later, drainers. Later, losers. See ya. Watch one of the videos, or else you'll have 1,000 years bad luck.